whole idea to scream about dead people. Corpses are meant to be shown. So you have traditions and rituals in which you believe shaped you, of which you may not now be conscious. When I first came to California and went to a memorial service, what the hell is that about? There's no body. Irish people love looking at that body for days on end. I just didn't understand this whole idea of being discreet about dead people. Corpses are meant to be shown. So you have traditions and rituals in which you believe shaped you, of which you may not now be conscious. And one of the things in class, I want you to start becoming aware of what it is that you're doing. Right? The last thing I want to say about that is the most interesting thing I think about American culture today is the DIY quality. Everybody know what that means. Do it yourself. One of the things that sociological studies have found out is that Americans, consistent with a consumer culture that is based on convenience and user-friendliness, like doing things on their own, putting things together as they please. And our spiritual and religious and ritual sensibilities are developing in ways that can't be controlled by ordinary institutions. But there's a certain percentage of American evangelicals, I'll get to them in a second, I think they're also too. But we make stuff up. And we're happy to do that. Many of you come from very eclectic, mixed faith backgrounds or no faith backgrounds. But that does not mean you do not have rituals. And it doesn't mean you don't have elaborate beliefs about the afterlife or the human soul or what happens when you die or anything like that, or what family should be like. Everybody in here has a complicated and detailed set of beliefs and rituals. They just may not be identifiable as Presbyterian or Sunni Muslim or Reformed Jewish. Okay? They're American. Americans put stuff, we have Walmart. Right? Any culture that has Walmart, you go out back, go down and buy important crap that's wrecking your economy 24 hours a day, happily, with a bunch of weird, overweight people trundling through life. That's a culture that's not going to stick with strict theology. Okay? We make stuff up. That's our greatest cultural skill, and one that, again, Americans are completely unaware of. We make stuff up. We create culturally interesting experiences like no other people's ever lived in history. The whole world imitates us. I don't care where you go. If you go to a fundamentalist Muslim country, they're wearing American fashions and doing American stuff, and they're on their phones or cell phones. No matter what the ideology is, we know how to create and maintain pastiches or combined experiences that we create. So one of the things we're going to find out in the class is what kind of weird, interesting, exotic theology do you have? What kind of ideology and rituals about death make sense to you? Because everybody in here has something. It's been my experience that very few people at Redlands have a regular religious beliefs. People I've talked to, but everybody's got some kind of commitment to something being true. All right? And they say sometimes pretty exotic. Okay, so we're going to try to figure out what that is. I'm going to talk about the regular templates, but I want you to start thinking about that. What do you believe about dead people? And about afterlife and things like that, ways there are God. How many people here think there's a God? So I want to see your hands up. Come on. That's crazy. No, it's not classical atheist Americans not like that. Do you guys believe there's a God? You don't care, do you? How many people don't care? That's another category we don't talk about. Yeah, it's just not interesting. You get bored when you hear it and you want to get out of the room. How many people are like that? Age of weighing when discussions turn to people. So they got a certain percentage of that. How many people think there's absolutely no chance there's anything like that? No hope. So a couple are like that, okay? But the rest of you are in that weird middle ground of, and there's some crazy theories out there. Guarantee. How many people here believe in reincarnation of some form? So you're going to come back and look, you don't believe that. We're going to get into that, all right? we're gonna ferret out all this weird complexity in there. And what Bradbury telling you, we all have rituals, and we all have stories and ways we talk about death, and they interact with the ways the feudal industry and medicine, people like that do. Okay. Now I'm taking you back to the Greek and Roman times. The Greeks are people who spoke Greek. That's all they are. This is pre-ethnicity. Back in the day, people were identified by the language they spoke, not by their genetic inheritance. And the people who didn't speak the Greek were called barbaroi, or barbarians. When they talked, they sounded like blah, blah, blah to the Greeks, so they called them blah, blah people. We don't know what they're talking about, so there's something wrong with them. If you can talk the lingo, you're okay. That's what the Greeks are. The Romans are a bit different, but we'll go back to Greece. When we look at early Greek philosophy, and they start writing philosophy about, the traditional date is 585 before the Common Era. People start reflecting, or at least we have texts that say they started reflecting on this stuff. What did the Greeks think about dying? Well, let's go back to some fundamental things that are kind of universal. When people die, no matter where they die, you're confronted with a kind of rude fact. What is that fact you're confronted with? When somebody you know dies, what do you have to deal with? Well, that's not what you have to deal with. It's exactly the opposite. That's the problem. What are they? Are they there? Oh, they're there. Yep. And they're not there. That's what you have to deal with. But first, they're there. Somebody's dead, but anybody who's dealt with a dead pet knows it didn't go away. We say, Bob passed away. No, he didn't. He's lying over there, bigger than life. He's big and he's rotting. So we have everybody who's experienced death realizes it leaves something behind. A big, and in the case of human being, a huge disposal problem. A big thing. And one of the salient characteristic of the big thing is that it's a changeable big thing. Okay? So we have to deal with that issue. Now, when a big thing called a corpse exists, what kind of changes does it undergo, good or bad? I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, who cares what it is? But for us, not so good. What happens if we keep a corpse around?
It rots.
Smells.
Why does it smell? And what does that mean? Bacteria are proliferating, which are controlled during its life. They're eating it up, and they're excreting. So what are you smelling in decomposition?
Bacteria poop.
Bacteria poop. Organs liquefy, gases rise up from this kind of detritus, and the body bursts open. Eyeballs liquefy and burst. It's pretty disgusting. Flesh begins to fall away in chunks. Not a great thing. Anybody's ever dealt with an animal that's been dead for a while, you don't want to deal with that. So even though Uncle Harry was deeply beloved, when he breathes or she breathes her last, you got a problem, right? Every culture has this kind of etiquette problem. What do we do with Uncle Harry?